Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in the Apple animated menu series into the single long video so that it's easy for you to follow. Now in this video, we're basically going to create this Apple-like menu over here. So if I click on this, we can see that it changes into a close icon and we have the animation just like the Apple website. And we also have these menu items displayed when we click on this menu icon. So in this video, I'll show you how to design everything from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And I will also leave the link of the source code in the description so you can just copy and paste it to your websites. And in the end, I will also show you how to add this navigation menu to your Blogger website. Alright, so let's get started. In this video, I'll show you how to create this hamburger menu animation from the Apple website. So here you can see I'm in the apple.com website, and if I click on this hamburger menu, we have this animation where it changes to the close icon, and if I click on it once again, it changes back to the default icon. So this is what we're going to design in this video using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. We're not going to use any images for this. We're going to do everything using code. Right here I have created this folder called Apple Menu Animation, and I just opened it with VS Code. So let's go ahead and start creating the necessary files. Let's start by creating an HTML file. I'll just name it index.html. And now let's create a CSS file. I'll just name it style.css. And let's create a JavaScript file. I'll just name it main.js. Alright, let's start with the index.html file. And in VS Code, you have this shortcut where you can just press exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. Alright, let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just type link, and in the href I'll just type style.css. And let's also link the JavaScript file. So I'll just type script, and in the src I'll just type main.js. Right now let's start with the markup of this menu. The first thing we will do is we'll create a container division called menu container. And in that we need to create these two lines over here. So let's create a division with the class of line. And we need to have one more division. So let's duplicate this. And we'll also add some specific styles to these two lines so that we can style them differently. So let's type line -1 and line -2. Now if you take a look at the animation, you can see that there are two animations over here. So if I click on this, there's one animation where it moves down and the second line moves up. And the other animation is that both of them rotate 45 degrees. Now since we need to add both these animations, we will create one more division inside this so that it's easy for us to write the CSS. So let's create a division with the class of line inner, and we'll also give it a specific class. I'll just give it a class of line inner 1. And let's copy this line of code and let's paste it inside the second division. And I'll just change this class to line inner 2. Alright, that's it with the HTML of our design. Now let's go to our CSS and let's start styling this. So before that, let's open this in our browser. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install that, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And here you can see that your design is displayed over here in the browser. Right now let's start styling this. So I have already linked the CSS file over here. So let's go to our style.css file. Let's type menu container, which is the container division. And let's give it a height of 40 pixels and a width of 40 pixels. And let's also set the cursor to pointer. Let's also add a background color to see whether it is displayed. So here we can see we have the menu container. Now for this demo, we'll just bring it to the center so that we can style it correctly. So here I'll just type body. And I'll just set the display to flex, align items to the center, justify content to the center, and also set the height to 100 viewport height. And now you can see it is exactly in the center. And we'll also set the box sizing to border box so that we have the correct height and width for all the elements. So let's type menu container and also all the elements inside the menu container. And let's type box sizing border box. Right now the next thing we will do is style the line. So here we can see we have this division with the class of line. So let's type menu container line. Let's set the height to 28 pixels and also the width to 28 pixels. Now we need to position this line relative to this menu container. So here I'll just type position relative. And here I'll just type position absolute. And let's also add a background color so that we can see it clearly. So let's type background yellow. Right now here we can see that our line division is displayed over here. Both the line divisions are in the same place. And let's also add some left and top positions. So let's type left and let's set it to 4 pixels. And let's type top and let's set it to 6 pixels. I think we can also set the left to 6 pixels. Right now the line is exactly in the center of the menu container division. Right now let's style the actual lines over here. So the lines are these line inner divisions over here. So let's access that. Let's type menu container line inner. Let's set the height to 4 pixels and let's set the width to 32 pixels. And let's also add a background color of dark gray. And here we can see that our line is displayed over here. I think we can increase the width a little bit more. So here for the line, let's try 32 pixels, and even for the width, let's try 32 pixels. And here for the line inner, let's type 32 pixels. And we'll also need to reposition this. So let's try 4 pixels and 4 pixels. I think that looks alright. And let's also add a border radius. So let's type border radius and let's set it to 4 pixels. Now we need to set the position of the top line inner, which is line inner 1 to the top and the line inner 2 to the bottom. So let's set the position to absolute. And let's access the line inner 1, which is this division right here. So let's type menu container line inner 1. And first of all, let's remove this background color and also this one right here. Right now for the first one, let's set the top position to 10 pixels. And for the bottom, let's type menu container line inner 2 and let's set the bottom position to 10 pixels. Now these two lines should not have any gap in between, so let's try 12 pixels. And that looks alright. And now let's bring this to the correct positions. So we will use transform translate y. And let's set the transform translate y to -5 pixels for the first one. And for the second one, let's type transform translate y +5 pixels. So now we have the two lines displayed over here. Now the next thing we need to do is add the animation. Now we'll be doing that by adding a class to the menu container division. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a class called active to the menu container when we want to have the animation for the close button. And we will remove the active class when we want to come back to this icon right here. So before continuing with the CSS, let's add some JavaScript to add and remove the active class. So here we have the menu container division. So let's access that in the JavaScript. Let's type const menu container equals document.querySelector menu container. And let's add an event listener. So let's type menu container dot add event listener. And let's listen for the click event. And let's create an arrow function over here. Now we need to add and remove the active class to the menu container. So let's type menu container dot class list dot toggle active. So if you have the active class, it will remove it, and if you don't have the active class, it will add it. Right now let's go back to our CSS and let's write the code for the active state. So let's type menu container dot active. Now you need to make sure that you don't have any space between these two classes, because these two classes are going to be added to the same division. Right now let's type dot line1 and we need to rotate this 45 degrees. So let's type transform rotate z and 45 degrees. And for the line 2, let's type menu container dot active line 2 transform rotate z -45 degrees. And now let's click on this button and we can see that the rotation has been added to both these lines. Right now it doesn't look good because it also has the translate y added to it. So when we have the active class, we'll just remove this transform value from the line inner 1 and 2. Now to access both of them, you can just type line inner because both of them have the line inner class. So let's type menu container active line inner and let's set the transform to none. And I think we need to increase the width of these line inners a little bit. So let's try 34 pixels and that looks alright. So now we can see we have the correct close icon, and if I click on it once again, it has the hamburger menu. So everything is working alright. Now the last thing we need to add is a smooth transition between these two states. So let's go to the line, and here let's type transition, and let's set it to transform 300 milliseconds, ease in out, and for the line inner let's type transition transform 200 milliseconds ease in out. And now let's click on this, and we have the transition. Now here we can see that both the animations are running at once. Now we need to run the animation of rotation after the translate animation. So if you go back to our original design, here we can see when we click on this, first of all we have the translate Y, and then we have the rotation. The rotation animation is added to the line, so the line 1 and line 2 divisions over here, which are these parent divisions. So let's access that over here. So here I'll just type menu container dot active line, and here we'll just type transition delay, and let's set it to 200 milliseconds. And now let's click on this, and we have the delay for the rotation animation. So here we can see first we have the translation animation, and then we have the rotation animation. Now we need to add the delay for the reverse animation as well. So let's go back over here, and here in the line inner let's type transition delay, and let's set it to 200 milliseconds. And we also need to add the transition to the active line inner. So let's copy this from here, and let's scroll down, and here for the line inner let's type transition transform 200 milliseconds ease in out. Right now let's test it out. Let's click on this icon, and we can see that it changes into the close icon, and if I click on it once again it changes back to the hamburger menu. So the animation is working alright. Now in this video I'll show you how to add some menu items when we click on this menu icon. So here's the demo. Here we have this menu icon, and if I click on that, we have the menu displayed over here, and we also have the color change when we hover over these menu items. And when we click on the close button it goes back. So this is what we're going to design in this video. Right, this is our source code, and the first thing we will do is we will write the HTML for all these menu items over here. So let's create a new division, and let's give it a class of menu items container. Now in this division let's create a UL for all these menu items. So let's type UL, and in that we will have a list item, and in the list item we will have an anchor tag, and here you can add the link of your page. I'll just type hash for now. And we have about, services, blog, and contact. So let's add them over here, about, and let's copy this list item, and let's paste it down 3 more times. And the second one is services, and then we have the third one which is blog, and the last one is contact. Alright, that's it with the HTML. Now let's go to our CSS, and let's start styling this. So let's go to our style.css file, and the first thing we will do is we'll just bring this menu to the top right over here. So here in the body we can see that we have set the display to flex, and we are bringing everything to the center. So let's delete all of this from here. Let's just delete this whole selector, and now here we can see it is on the left. So here in the menu container let's set the position to absolute, and let's set the top position to, let's try 20 pixels, and let's set the right position to 40 pixels. And now the next thing we will do is we will set the box sizing to border box for this division as well, the menu items container division. So here let's add a comma, let's type menu items container, and also menu items container and all the elements inside that. Right, now let's start styling this. So let's scroll down, and let's type menu items container, and let's set the background to 111, and let's set the position to absolute, and we'll set the top position to 80 pixels, and we'll set the right position to 40 pixels. Right, now let's style the anchor tags. So let's type menu items container A, and let's set the color of the text to white, and let's remove the underlines. So let's type text decoration and set it to none, and we'll set the font family to Roboto and sans serif, and let's set a padding of 12 pixels top and bottom and 40 pixels left and right. And here we can see that the padding is not applied to the top and bottom. That's because the anchor tags are inline elements by default. So we have to type display of inline block. Right, now we can see that the padding is applied. Let's also set the text transform to uppercase, and we'll also add a border between these elements. So let's type border of 1 pixel solid 313131, and let's set the width to 100%, and let's also set the font size to 14 pixels. Right now let's remove the padding and margin of the UL, and we'll also remove the bullets. So let's tap menu items container, UL, and let's tap padding 0, margin 0, and also let's remove these bullets. So let's type list style, and let's set it to none. Right now let's add the hover effect. So when we hover over this, we need to have a slightly different color. So here let's type menu items container a:hover, and let's set the background color to 222, and let's add a transition so that we have smooth animation. Let's type transition, and let's set it to all 200 milliseconds ease. And now let's hover over this, and we can see that we have the hover effect. Alright, now the last thing we need to do is we need to display and hide these menu items when we click on this button right here. So for that, we're going to add an active class to this menu items container when we want to display it, and we'll remove the active class when we don't want to display it. So by default, we will set the opacity of this menu items container to 0, and we'll also decrease the size. So let's type transform scale, and let's set it to 0. And let's also add a transition, and let's set it to all 700 milliseconds ease. And now let's write the styles for the active class. So let's type menu items container dot active, and here we'll just set the opacity back to 1, and we'll also set the transform scale, and let's set it to 1. Right now let's add and remove this class using JavaScript. So we need to access this menu items container division. So let's go to our main.js file, and let's type const menu items container equals document.querySelector menu items container. And here we already have an event listener for the menu container. So here when we have the active class, we need to display the menu items container. So let's add an if condition, and let's type menu container dot class list dot contains, and let's see whether we have the active class inside the menu container. And if we have the active class, then we will add the active class to the menu items container. So let's type menu items container dot class list dot add, and let's type active over here, and let's add an else over here, and let's type menu items container dot class list dot remove active. Right now let's see whether this works. So let's click on this button, and we have the menu items displayed over here, and let's click on this button once again, and it goes back. Now we need to bring this menu items container from this top right over here. So for that, we have to set the transform origin to the top right. Right now it is going to the center when we scale it down. So let's go back to the style.css file, and here let's type transform origin, and let's set it to top right. And now let's click on this, and now we can see it goes to the top right when we click on this menu icon. Now the last thing we will do is we will add a different easing function. So if I click on this original design, we can see that we have this bouncy effect over here. So for that, we are using a cubic bezier. Now if you right click over here in this menu items container, and if I click on inspect, and if I click on menu items container, here we can see that we have this curve displayed over here for ease. And if I click on this curve, we can see that we have the option of modifying this. So if I just change this something like this, we have this bouncing effect. So we have to bring this curve to the top over here, then we will have the bouncing effect. Now once you're happy with that, you can just copy this code from here, and you can just paste it over here instead of this ease. Now I have already calculated a cubic bezier function, so let's type cubic bezier, and let's add the following values. I'll just type 0.13, 0.86, 0.11, and 1.19. You have to make sure that the last value is greater than 1. Right now let's take it out, and here we can see we have this bouncy effect, and we can also add a little bit of transition delay. So let's tap transition delay, and let's set it to 100 milliseconds. And now we can see everything looks alright. Alright, this is the dashboard of my Blogger website, and let's open this blog right here. So let's click on View Blog, and this is how it looks right now. We can see that we have these posts over here, but on the right hand side over here we can see that we have this menu icon. Now if I click on this, by default we have these menu items displayed over here. Now we don't want to display these things over here, we want to display these menu items right here. So for that we have to make some changes in the code of our theme, and what we will do is we'll just replace this menu icon with this icon right here. So the first thing we will do is we'll just locate this menu icon in the theme code. So if you right click over here and click on Inspect, here we can see we have the markup of our website displayed over here. If we scroll up, we can see that we have this division with the class of hamburger section and container, and above that we have the main header which contains the heading and also the search icon. Now what we are interested is in this hamburger section. So let's go ahead and find this class in our theme code. So we'll just search for class equals and hamburger section. So let's go back to the dashboard and let's go to theme. And by the way, I'm using this theme called Notable Light, which comes by default with Blogger. So here you can see this theme right here. Right now let's click on this arrow and click on Edit HTML. Right now let's search for this class over here called hamburger section. So let's go back and let's press Ctrl F or Command F, and let's type class equals hamburger section, and let's press enter. And here we can see we have this division with the class of hamburger section, and in this we have this line of code which displays this button right here. So what we're going to do is we'll just delete this, or let me just comment this. So I'll just press less than exclamation hyphen hyphen, and let's close the comment over here. Let's press hyphen hyphen greater than. Right now let's add some text over here so that we know that we are in the correct place. So let's just type menu here, and let's press save. And let's go to our website and let's refresh this page. And now here we can see instead of the menu icon we have the text displayed over here. So now we can go ahead and add any code over here and it will be displayed over here. Now before adding the HTML, CSS and JavaScript to our theme, let's make some changes in this menu icon over here. So let's go to the source code, and if you go to the style.css file, here we can see we have the CSS of the menu items. And if we take a look at the CSS of the menu container, we can see that we are setting the position to absolute. Now in our Blogger website, we don't want to have an absolute position. We want to have the icon displayed over here in place of this menu here text. So what we're going to do is we're going to just delete these 3 lines of code. And now if we go back to the browser, here we can see that we have the menu displayed at the default position, and we are not forcing any position on this. Right now let's click on this menu icon, and we can see that the menu items are displayed over here, but they are on the right side. Now we want to set the position of these menu items relative to this menu icon over here. So what we're going to do is let's go back and let's go to the HTML, and we're going to add everything inside a container. So let's create a division with the class of menu main container, and let's just cut this end tag from here and let's paste it down here. And now we can see the menu container which has this menu icon, and also the menu items container which has all these menu items over here. Both of them are inside this menu main container division. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set a position of relative to this menu main container, and we're going to set this menu items container position to absolute so that it will be positioned relative to this menu main container. So let's go to our style.css file, and here let's type menu main container, and let's set the position to relative, and let's see what is the width of this division right here. So let's type background red, and now we can see that the width of this division is 100% of the screen. So let's change the width, let's change it to 40 pixels, And now we can see we have the correct width. And now if we click on this icon, we can see that the menu items are displayed over here relative to this icon. Let's go back to our CSS and let's go to the menu items container. And here let's set the position. So right now we have set the right position to 40 pixels. Let's change it to 0. And we'll change the top position to 50 pixels. Right now let's go back and let's click on this icon. And we have the menu items displayed in the correct place. Let's just add a margin left to this icon so that we can see it clearly. So let's go back. And here, let's remove this background color and let's type margin left and let's just add 200 pixels. And now if we click on this icon, we have the menu items displayed over here, so everything works alright. Right now let's remove this margin left and now let's add this code to our Blogger website. Let's go to our theme code and here instead of menu here, let's add the HTML. So let's go back to our source code, let's go to the HTML file and let's copy everything from here till here and let's paste it over here. And here we can see we have all these menu icons and you can go ahead and change the link over here in the href attribute. You can just add the link of the about page over here. In the same way you can go ahead and change the links of all these menu items. And if you want to add a new menu item, you can just copy and paste this down and change this text and this link. And if you want to remove one of these, you can just delete this list item from here. Right now let's add the CSS. So let's scroll up. And here we can see this is all the CSS of the theme. Let's go to the end and here let's make some space. And let's go back to our source code and let's go to the CSS file. And let's copy all the CSS from here. And let's paste it over here. Now the last thing we need to do is add the JavaScript. So let's go back to our source code, let's go to the main.js file and let's copy everything from here. And let's scroll down and let's go to the end. And here I'll just create a script tag. And let's paste the JavaScript over here. Right now let's click on save. And let's go back to our website and let's refresh this page. And here we can see that the icon is displayed over here. Now we have to move this a little bit to the top to align it with this search text over here. Right now let's click on this icon. And we have the menu items displayed over here, but we have some problems in the CSS. The first thing we need to do is we need to bring it to the top. So we need to set a z index. And the next thing we need to do is we need to set all these alphabets one next to the other. Right now it is vertical. So let's right click over here and click on inspect. And let's see what is the problem. Let's click on this menu items container and let's see whether we have some default styles added by the theme. So let's scroll down. And here we can see we have this property word break and it is set to break word. So if I remove this, we can see we have the correct styling. So what we will do is we will reset the value of word break in all the list items in the menu items container. So let's scroll up and let's click on this first list item, and here if I just type word break and if I set it to normal, we can see that everything looks alright. Right now let's go ahead and set a z index. So let's click on this menu items container and here let's add a z index and let's set it to, let's try 300, and it looks alright. Now we have set the word break to only the first list item, so that's why it is displayed correctly. All the others need to have this style. And the last thing we will do is we'll just bring this up a little bit. So let's select this menu main container and let's add a margin top. So let's type margin top and let's try -5 pixels. And I think that looks alright. So we need to add margin top of -5 pixels to the menu main container, and we need to set the word break to normal for all the list items in the menu items container, and we also need to add a z index for this menu items container. So let's add all these styles. Let's go to our theme code and let's go to the CSS, and here for the menu main container let's type margin top of -5 pixels, and let's go to the menu items container, and here we will set a z index and let's set it to 300. and let's select all the list items. So here I'll just type menu items container ULLI, and let's type word break, and let's set it to normal, and let's click on save. Right now let's go back to our website and let's refresh this page, and now we can see that the menu icon is in the correct place. Let's click on it, and we have the menu items displayed over here, and let's click on the close icon, and it goes back and we have this menu icon back. Let's scroll down and let's scroll up, and here also we have the menu icon. Let's click on that, and we have the menu items displayed over here. So everything looks alright. Let's open a post, and here also we have this menu icon. Let's click on that, and everything works alright. So that's basically how you can add an animated menu to your Blogger website, and I will leave the link of the source code in the description, so you can just go ahead and copy and paste it to your website. And if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below, and if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.